Welcome, gentlemen, to episode 4 of the Due North Political Podcast. Can you guys believe it that this is 2 months already? Time flies.
Loving it.
Still got
We
snow.
got Mike Machenbacher, Leon Francis, Ryan Schumacher with us. We start every show, folks, with the jobs of Rubio. So we're going to introduce you to the jobs that Rubio held in the last 2 weeks while we were away from you. First job, of course, is Tiger's chauffeur. And then he was Kristi Noem's husband. He was a repairman on the, is it Artemis?
Artemis,
yeah.
Artemis journey.
Artemis mission.
Repairman, they're having some difficulties. Rubio's, he's a man of all trades. And then, of course, he was the Easter Bunny. And he had a tough 2 weeks, so he had to have a cigarette at the end with Trump the other day. So those are the jobs of Rubio. I'm sure he'll be quite busy over the next coming months. He never seems to end, but he does a fabulous job every time he does something, doesn't he, gentlemen?
Yep.
Totally understand.
We then do an award for most views, and the defending champ won again. So that's 2 weeks in a row. You guys got to step up your game if you wanna, so they say, piss with the big dogs. You know what I mean? So you're gonna have to step up your game. Folks, the first thing we do on our show is we call it My 2 Cents. It's where I kind of ask the guys a question, the same question, and they give me their take on my particular topic. So, gentlemen, you've heard of No Enemies to the Right. It's a big discussion, kind of happened a couple months after Charlie Kirk's assassination. Everybody just kind of all of a sudden started attacking each other on the right. And you got guys like Matt Walsh that say should never attack anybody on the right or to the right of you, at least publicly. And then you got people like the gentleman from the Babylon Bee that says, and Ben Shapiro, no, you got to call these people out. You got to call Megyn Kelly out. You know what I mean? If we're a little bit anti-Semitic, that stuff has to be discussed. And audience should always be told the truth. There should be no agenda. And the job of a podcaster, of these influencers, is to tell the truth. Let's start with Ryan. What do you think of the no enemies to the right phrase?
I agree with the statement. Like Mike and we have been talking about the last few episodes. We've talked about this, and it's true. You can all have conversations over specific points and details, what we feel the conservative agenda should look like and how best to accomplish it, while still trying to reach the same goal. Disagreements are good and healthy. They create dialogue, but bickering back and forth in the public domain only causes weaknesses within the party to be exploited by those on the left. I want to ask you, how many times over the past 15, 20 years when Nancy Pelosi was leading the House of Representatives, did they have people that voted against her the way she went? I mean, they may have done something in the background, may have had conversations, but never once was there any fractures when it came to a vote. You knew how it was going to go down. You didn't have, this person might be not voting yes or whatever. So
let me ask you before you, attacking Erica Kirk, things like that, do you still agree with that? That's not issue based. That's more, personality, or a gal that's husband is no longer with us and we're going to attack her personally.
I think that's low. I mean, I think the people that are doing it are trying to just riot or trying to gain that kind of not necessarily market share, but trying to gain that void and trying to elevate themselves. If they're the most loudest and they say the most absurd things, that they'll get clicks and views. And I think that's more what that is than actually trying to have a meaningful dialogue.
Mike, Leon, go ahead, you had your hand up.
Oh, I forgot. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Mike.
Okay. Well, yeah, I kind of agree with Ryan about the no enemies to the right philosophy. And, like he mentioned too, I hit on this a little bit during our last show when I went through those charts of the different factions of Republicans. But I'll give you a little more detail on how I really think about this. When you say no enemies, I think that holds true. But it doesn't mean that we can't disagree. If you think we can't disagree, then that is absolutely false. But this is something that Republicans have struggled, that we've struggled with that for many years now, is having a unified voice behind what would one consider maybe a good leader in the Republican Party. And when you have a big tent party like we do, it causes disagreements. But what I think we need to do is really find a very well-spoken, charismatic leader of the Republican Party. And I think a good strategy would be to identify 6, 7 non-negotiables for our party, things we can all agree on. We can unify around these common principles. Some examples could be, Republicans are pro-life, pro-family, support law enforcement, support low taxes, less government, low regulation environment, and so on. I mean, these are the things that are Republican principles that I believe everybody can agree on. So those can be the non-negotiables. But then after that, if we're going to survive as a party, we really need to have another set of principles that we can refer to as negotiables. And this could basically be every other issue that's out there. And instead of fighting about them, we need to make a unified agreement that we can take some sides of each conflicting ideology, give a little here, take a little there, and then whoever is the leader of the party really needs to do a good job of explaining to everyone that we are unified in this effort. Here's what we're going to do. Nobody's going to get everything that they want, but we need to realize that we're only going to get part of what we want and not all of it. So the problem is, though, we can't view this as a loss. It needs to be, construed as a victory. Even though it's not a major victory, it's a minor victory, but a minor victory is not a loss. So if we continue to have people like, say, Thomas Massie and Lindsey Graham, for two examples, who have certainly different views, but they play on the same team, if they keep attacking each other, then we lose. So I really think we need to find a charismatic, well-respected leader that can clearly explain this to everyone, be transparent about the goals, and then all factions of the party need to just agree that we can work with this plan and move forward. But we need a leader that can do this. And I can't even begin to tell you, who that would be. It's certainly not Donald Trump. He's the bull in the china shop leader that has the kind of it's my way or the highway mentality. We need someone with a calmer, more unifying voice. Maybe this can be Marco Rubio's next job. He could be the Republican fighting leader.
Well, it's certainly Charlie was good at it, right? And that's a void that is not being filled. And maybe those people only come around once every 25 years too. I'm not sure, but we sure miss him. Leon, where do you stand on this?
Well, I'm going to circle back to use the redheads, vernacular. Ryan said something I thought was pretty poignant. I think that a lot of the undesirable talking heads on the right are engagement farming. That's what they're doing. The more outlandish they are, the more clicks they get, the more notoriety and I give those people no oxygen at all. I'm asked all the time about certain figures on the right that I have at one point spoke very highly of, and now you don't ever hear their names come out of my mouth because I know what it's all about. The second point I want to make is asymmetrical warfare. That's a real thing. And Democrats, the left, they practice the whole no enemies to the left. You never hear them calling out AOC for some dip crap thing that she said. You never, when Joe Biden said, well, if you don't vote for me, you ain't black, or when he went blah 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 blah. You never heard anybody. They hid that dude's moronic stature the entire time he was in office. That's because they are unified. I think that this and Dan Hager, he made a good point, like a couple comments back. He said this looks like a unified strategy from folks on the left and folks on the right who don't like this administration to keep us fighting. We're divided now, so you can't have that spearhead going forward, getting things done, getting things accomplished if we're at each other's throat. I don't practice that at all. Like I'm pro life, 100%. Like 10 toes down, as they say in the hood, But I am not going to jump on and I don't Lila Rose because she said something that I don't agree with. I'm not going to jump all over her because she's pulling in the same way I'm pulling. So that's where I'm going to go with that. It also prevents self-sabotage, which I think that the right, we are really good at that. We're really good at self-sabotage. And that's something that we all need to kind of put our heads together. I said last night on my podcast, Blackbeard Logic, that one of the reasons I like this format is because we all four are Republican. I think we four are all conservative. But there is a unique diversity of thought on our side that you don't get in too many political parties, like the Libertarian Party or the Democrat Party or the Green Party or that chick that was yodeling a couple. Do you remember that? Anyway, but we need diversity of thought. But what we do not want to do is fall by friendly fire. We want our strategy, we want our motivations, we want our end game to all be pulling in one direction. So that's where I'm at on that.
So I want to dive a little deeper then. We'll go around to the three of you again. So what you're saying, as if I summarize it, is policy differences should be kept in-house, and you keep that, you have your disagreements behind the scenes. But if Perry got assassinated tomorrow, I don't think any of you three would say that his wife had him killed. Is that a fair statement to make? And would you make that statement, or can't you do that? If my brother said his wife had him killed, Mike, would you say, Ryan, you're nuts? That's unnecessary. They had a great marriage. You know what I mean?
I'd be like, I knew Perry, so. No, I'm kidding.
You know what I mean? But so let's go to the personality thing. What's going with Erica? That's dividing this stuff, and it's so unnecessary. Do you agree, Ryan?
Yeah, I mean, because then you get, yes, on the right there are some crazies on the right too, and you get those people with the conspiracy theories, like showing the videos of, Charlie Kirk getting shot. Like, take a look at this, and this guy's doing this at this point in time, and it doesn't help with the message, doesn't help unify the party. It just creates chaos.
Lay off the wife is my point. Seriously. You know what I mean? Have all your freaking conspiracy theories. Mike, where do you come down?
Well, after our last show, I had a few people tell me they liked the message that I was discussing on the charts that I presented and stuff. I mean, the first thing I thought, it was like, great, I'm glad someone's listening to our show. The second thing I thought of is like, they're telling me it can't happen. It's unrealistic. But no, it is realistic, because like Leon just said, the Democrats are doing it perfectly and have done it perfectly for how many years? John Fetterman is the first Democrat that I think I have ever heard call out his own party on anything. Not just, and we're dealing with hundreds of different issues on the Republican side where people are calling each other out on. On the Democrat side, nothing. They don't call each other out on that, and if they do, it's behind closed doors. So can it be done? Absolutely, it can be done. It just needs to, we need to realize that if we're going to succeed, this is what we need to do, and they realize that the Democrats are way better than that than we are. It's probably our biggest vice we have right now.
I can count on you though for sticking up for my wife, can I? If something happens to me, Mike.
Well, I like Marlene more than I like you, so yeah, I'll always stick up for her.
Leon, where do you come down on the personality thing? I think you kind of said it in your opening statement there, but
Oh yeah. Even the mob, they leave the women and the children alone. They have that code. We should do the same thing. And again, it's engagement farming. I would not give any of those voices any air at all. As a matter of fact, I'd freeze them out. So you don't have to engage. That's what they're looking for. Like I see certain things. My wife asks me, "Hey, is this true?" And you don't need to follow that person anymore. Just mute them for right now because it's all noise. You click on them, it's engagement farming. That's all it is, and it's divisive. It is harmful. It is asymmetrical warfare, and I'm not going to play that game. I have a man. We got a country to save. We can't be messing around with all these conspiracy theories and all the idiotic mumblings of chuckle nuts. We got things to do. We got people to save. We got a country to save. We're 250 years old this year. You know, I'm not doing your wife shot you. I'm not doing that. No. I'm done.
I think the key word here is focus, right, Leon? Let's focus on what's really in front of us. Folks, we're going to move to our second segment we call Fire Away. Here I ask each of the co-hosts a specific question based on a certain topic. Here's the topic. It is my impression that nationally, women are engaging in the political arena at a greater degree than men. Groups like Moms for Liberty, Concerned Women for America are just a couple examples. Men seem to be checking out in every political metric from polls, donations, and content viewership. So we're going to start with Mike. Mike, why are there no Dads for Liberty groups?
Well, believe it or not, this might come as a shock to some people, but there are differences between men and women. And both men and women have their strengths and their weaknesses. And they all have different talents and different interests. But when it comes to political movements, I think women are just better at organizing and sticking to a mission. Maybe more men suffer from ADD. The four of us could probably be prime examples of that, where we just can't stay focused on one mission. And I give all the kudos in the world to all the ladies who have started these missions and continue to do great things. And we owe them great thanks and gratitude for doing so. But can you imagine, really think about it. Can you imagine if somebody, a guy like one of us, decided they want to start a Dads for Liberty group? So you have a meeting scheduled at 4:00 every Thursday. But you know what? If the fish are biting or your buddies have a tea time, I really think many men grab their fishing rods and golf clubs rather than attend regularly scheduled meetings like this. And I think women are better at focusing on missions, like what you mentioned, than men are. It's that plain and simple. But
the other thing Mike? Is that a problem, Mike, that men would rather go fishing? I think it is.
I don't think it's a problem. It's just how men and women are. It's how we're created. It's in our DNA. I don't think it's a problem. The
country's going down the crapper while you're out fishing, dude.
Well, it depends on how big the fish are we're catching.
I missed a golf meeting tonight. Are you saying I'm a woman?
Well, what is a woman? I don't know. But the other thing that I really think is beneficial, for the female-led groups is I think they view what they're doing as more of an accomplishment than men might. I also think that women just tend to pay attention to social media accounts of other women and want to be parts of these groups if the opportunity presents itself. So it's just simply that this is one of many things that women are better than men at, and that's the bottom line.
Okay, let's go to the second question. That kind of is a good segue, Leon. The Bible talks about male headship. Why do so many men refuse their intention but can't turn off a sports game?
So this is where me and the voice of reason, we're gonna
Let's go, buddy.
because men, I think that men have totally abdicated their responsibilities to this country. I think that we don't get the whole gender ideology and all of that garbage without men abdicating their God-given responsibilities. We are supposed to be the stewards. We are given headship by God, and you talk to my wife, she'll tell you this. She'll ask me, "How are we? What are we thinking about this? What are we doing here?" I'll give her my input. If she says, well, I don't think so. Well, and she will digress and then give that headship to me. But you got to have the shoulders, you got to have the wherewithal, and you have to. God gave you gave women like intuition, and then they gave us like the drive to get things done. So I believe that we are dealing with a generation or two of men who have completely abdicated that. We've had the social media and media in general, and all of these forces that are standing around and they're demonizing what masculinity should be. They demonize that. So what guy wants to show up at the PTA meeting and go, wait a minute, this is garbage? I've seen like a couple of videos of guys actually doing that, but they always call him out. Oh, you can't speak so harshly. You can't do X, Y, and Z. What guy would rather get off the couch from watching Seattle Seahawks playing and go down to the PTA meeting and say, hey, these things are wrong? We don't have those guys. And we should have those guys. I give all kudos to the women that are out there fighting for life, like Lila Rose. I mentioned her. Man, God love her. God love her. And the Moms for Liberty and all of those great, strong mama bears, mama grizzlies, like Sarah Palin used to be. I love those women. But I'm not going to abdicate my responsibility. If my daughter is playing against a dude that thinks he's pretty, no, I'm going to be on the field because that's what God called me to do. And I think that a lot more men, and even in the political arena, let's just go there. I am concerned when I see a lot of male roles being filled by females. Um, every fiasco in a liberal city, you have a female police chief standing there trying to explain it and I'm like, dude, what are we doing out in California? Fire burns like half of California, and then you have some big, she was big, lady as the fire chief, and she's like, well, I'm not running into that fire. You know why? Because God didn't put that into you. He put that into a man to do. Don't get me started on that. We have spiritual and cultural emasculation. We have escapism over duty. We have a lack of formation when it comes to men leading other men and focusing on a mission. I think that's what we like. This country started. It was a bunch of dudes. I mean, Betsy Ross was in there, giving her 2 cents, but it was a bunch of plucky dudes in backwater sticks with their little muskets and whatnot. They I don't even think a ton of them had muskets, but they said, "Hey, this will not stand. We're going to do something about this. We need to get back to that."
Didn't they pledge their life, wealth, and sacred honor? You know what I mean? I think it went something like that. But preach, Leon. This I hit your hot button, and I'm glad you came through for me here.
No, I gotta. Or go ahead.
Go ahead, Mike.
Oh, I got to add a comment to that. I agree with every single thing that you just said there, Leon. The question to me was, why is there no dads for liberty groups? And I was just stating the fact that women, I think, are better at organizing groups like that. Everything you just said, I totally agree with. If there's, like you mentioned, if there was a problem at the kid's school and you have to go speak to the school board, I'll put my fishing rod down and I'll just say, honey, I got this one. I'm going to go, this is my duty as a dad to go take care of this. And I'm going to go do that. But it might be better or it might be more effective if you have a group, if there's actually a group being formed, the females might be more effective to form a group if they have to go do something like Moms for Liberty. But yeah, you're absolutely right. When it comes to something like that, I mean, if the house is burning down, I'm going to get my kids out and go back in and, take care of putting the fire out. I'm not going to tell my wife, yeah, I'm going to go outside and, practice putting. You can go ahead and take care of the fire. So I agree. You're absolutely right.
You're not going to be
All right.
able
Going back in. Come on, Mike.
No,
Come
yeah.
on.
He was never gone. He was just dangling. He was just dangling.
Yeah. I
Ryan,
I was getting attacked on the chat here.
Oh no.
Ryan, Scott Pressler, the on-the-ground voter registration champ, believes it is because Republicans, when they gain power, failed to wield it. That's why men disengage. They get turned off by that. Do you agree?
I don't know if that they disengage, but I do agree with the statement that Republicans, once they gain power, fail to wield it. And I think there are a couple of things to consider here. One kind of goes back to the first topic, and Republicans right now have the House, Senate, and presidency. And I've always said to the general public is always so fixated on the president and what his agenda is, but without Congress, the president can't really do much. He can issue executive orders, but they're going to get boggled down in courts like we've seen both in Trump's presidency here and even when Biden tried to do stuff. But the only way to move an agenda forward is through Congress. But Republicans in Congress, and especially the Senate, are impotent here at the moment. We see what's happening with the Save America Act. Republicans are in power, but they can't get this to a vote in the Senate. It's how dysfunctional many of the Republicans in Congress are at wielding power. Do you think if the roles were reversed and Democrats were in charge that this thing would not get done? I mean, they had 60 Democratic senators and they got Obamacare through. Not one of them voted no, but I don't think you could have that with Republicans. You'd have a few that would be voting no and we wouldn't get it through. We all saw what happened in 2016 once they did get all three in the presidency, House, and Senate. They couldn't reverse Obamacare even when they had the opportunity. They missed it by one vote. But if Democrats needed that one vote, I think they would have gotten it. Another example is back in the Tea Party days when Republicans were elected for the first time by beating longstanding Democrats. We saw that in North Dakota. People elected them for their reason, but they were tired of being run over by the Democrat machine and wanted to see big changes made. Well, like I said, what happened the first time they got all the power back in 2016, they couldn't override Obamacare. And so time and time again, the Republicans campaign on one thing, but you see a lot of their true colors once they're in office. And at that point, it becomes about self-preservation and reelection rather than taking the power that was given to them to make the changes that the people wanted.
The point I'm trying to make through all this, you guys did a good job, is we know women vote majority way Democrat, right? Women as a whole. So if men check out, this game is lost. It's just math. And if men check out because they got to fish on the primary or in November, they got to go deer hunting, the game is over and your headship failed because the purple-haired gal down the street is going to get there. She's going to get to the voting booth. And you better just delay your trip, whatever your sports habit is or your hobby is. You better put it on your calendar. When it's time to vote, you got to go vote. Because if men don't, we're done. Agree, disagree. Am I fatalistic here? Or, Perry's always a cynic.
100% right. I'll point to the African American community. Men abdicated their responsibilities in the African American community, of which I am a member. And what happened? Yeah, what? Shut. But good God, Perry, you got me off my point. But what happened was liberals got in there, brainwashed them, and then got them thinking, God, I'm trying to think of a nice way to say this, but our progeny is being disposed of in record numbers because the men have abdicated their responsibility. It's one of the reasons why I'm so pro-life. They and the African American woman votes 98% with the Democrats. But if you have a two person, a mom and a dad in the African American community, and they are godly, they go to church every Sunday, they're raising godly kids, they are 90% more likely to vote Republican. There's something to be said there. And we as a nation, we need to look at that. And now I'm looking at you guys, you white guys. You guys gotta get your crap in order, man. Like you gotta grab the reins on this thing, man.
You guys got any comments? Mike?
Well, I was going to add something to what Ryan just said a little bit ago. He mentioned Obamacare that was passed by the Democrats. I think, didn't they pass with 59 votes and then or whatever?
No, 60. It was Norm Coleman's seat that was against Al Franken, that runoff election that gave them their 60th. So they held it off until that was finished, decided.
Right.
They got their 60th seat.
But you remember that during the next election cycle, every single Republican campaigned on getting rid of Obamacare. And so then people, the Republicans took control after that again, and they didn't get rid of Obamacare. And this just is another example of what I said last time, is any time that you start a program, even if it's unpopular like Obamacare was, there are people that are going to utilize it. And if you attempt to take away any government service or program, you're going to lose votes. So anytime that, I don't care what party they're in, Republican or Democrat, if they say they're going to end something, the legislature is not going to be able to do it because they'll get voted out because they're going to lose enough voters.
That's the key word, key phrase there. They're going to lose votes. They care more about the votes. They care more about the votes than they do actually what's right or what's best. Or, I mean, Minnesota spent $18 billion surplus a couple of years ago, and now we can't, our car tabs are $800 a year, but we can't pull that back because we maybe need to, not let illegal immigrants have free college tuition or something. So it's going to lose votes, but.
Right. And it doesn't matter if and it doesn't matter if it'll bankrupt your state or bankrupt the country, that they don't care because you're going to lose votes if you try to take away whatever program that, even if it's 49% unpopular,
it's a vicious circle, and it always leads back. A vicious circle, and it always leads back to re-election.
Right.
As if 2 terms was good enough for George Washington, 2 terms should be good enough for everybody else in this country.
And we've lost the concept of limited government. The more crap you give away, the bigger government has to be.
Heck, they can't even put Doge savings into law, right? It all has to be executive order because there might be a constituency out there that's got a job off the fraud or the abuse that's being happened. It's terrible. And they wonder why they have no respect. None of them have any respect, but yet we keep electing the same one in our state, in your locality, over and over and over again. It doesn't make sense, but we're going to get into that contradiction on show number 5 next week, people. So, or 2 weeks from now.
90% unfavorability, but 90% re-election.
Yeah.
Folks, we're going to move to Looky Here. And guys, I put this up in honor of Tiger. So I put Scheffler pointing.
Wow.
Yeah. Looky here. We're going to start with Leon. I got to find yours. Okay. Do you want me to show our Looky Here, folks, is basically something we see in social media or on the news that you might have missed, and we want to bring it to your attention. So this is Leon's point of focus.
So what this is the U.S. House of Representatives passed a measure to automatically register men for the Selective Service, updating requirements for the first time in decades. So I thought this would be a very good looky here because most people that I brought this topic up to, one, had no clue that it had happened. So that's always a good starting point because you get a fresh perspective. But in my circle, I have like the Venn diagram that Kamala loves so much, and Dustin Garlow, we had on the last show. You speak to a lot of conservatives or Republicans, and they're kind of all over the map with this. And I just kind of wanted to get your opinion on it. Like me, folks were, and I don't know why, they were amazed that I'm not okay with this. And the reason for that is I am a limited government, small government guy. And I just talked about keep this in mind. And someone told me, hey, you're being hypocritical, and I'm not. I do believe that every male should sign up for the selective services. You should go and fight for your country 100%. I think that if you don't, then your father did you a disservice. I mean, outside of obvious things like, um, obvious things, and you can't serve or you can't serve in a capacity, in a war fighter capacity. But what I have an issue with is the government pulling all that data, and that's what they're going to do. If you don't register at 18, they're going to pull all that data on you and register you anyway. You're going to be in another database, another big brother scenario, whether you want to be or not. And quite frankly, I think that when we're talking about our war fighters, I want folks that want to go. That's what I want. I want there to be standards and folks that are fit enough to meet those standards and want to do it, they go do it. That's where I'm at there. I do not like the whole big government approach to that. And I just kind of wanted to get your opinion on that. Should we have an automatic draft where the guy doesn't go in and register and all of that, where it's automatic? The government pulls your data and says, hey, there's an 18-year-old male there. Let's snatch him up.
Well, Leon, I would just ask this right now: when you turn 18, you're required to register for selective service, correct?
You are.
So,
You have to
okay,
do
so
it.
if it's
You physically
required,
have to do it.
yeah, you
have
physically
to do
have to do it. But if you don't do it, are you guilty of a crime?
No, but certain government programs are closed to you. Like you couldn't do, and I'm not familiar with them, but I know that there are certain loans you can't get, certain grants you can't get, certain government assistance that you cannot receive if you have not signed up for the selective service.
Okay, the first time or when you sent that, I looked at it quick and I thought, well, maybe is this just back when I registered, when I turned age 18, we didn't have computers or internet. So we had to go down to the post office and register for selective service. And I thought, now, is it just technology has evolved and now they don't need us to actually go physically to the post office and register? Is it just automatic that if you're 18, you're going to be eligible for the draft if they should do so?
I see a problem with that. If that's the case, I see a problem with that. So, and again, we homeschool our kid. Eli homeschool, and he will be until he graduates. And because I want it that way, because I think our government compiles way too much data on our kids from cradle to grave anyway. So, but you better believe he'll be at some post office filling out his selective service with me standing behind him. So
I think that should be the action. It should be a conscious thing that I'm doing this. Okay, this is the world I'm living in now. I'm moving on. I'm 18 years old. This is what is expected of me. This is what might happen. It should be a conscious action and not just something that's done and you, oh, what? I'm registered? Oh, who knew?
Yeah, and I agree with that. Yeah. Oh, go ahead, Ryan. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I agree you should do it too, but at this point in time, at this day and age, I don't lose sleep over any data thing anymore. I mean, all your data is already out there. I mean, we're so far past that there's no, if we could stop now and it's not going to change a thing, or we can keep going forward with this thing, it's not going to matter one iota, I think. So I just don't lose sleep over data being out there. If I get hacked into or whatever,
Where is
it's
your
gonna happen
Sarah
eventually.
Connor? Where's your inner Sarah Connor?
Mike, we're gonna move on to your looky here. You want me to show it or do you have to explain it beforehand?
Well, you can go ahead and bring it up. This is what I think may be the absolute most insane thing that I've seen out of our neighbors to the north in a very long time, or as Michael Knowles would call them, our America's evil top hat. But so, as you may or may not know, the United States is going to be hosting the World Cup this summer, and some of the soccer games are going to be held in Canada. So apparently, Toronto is going to be hosting or co-hosting some of these games. And in their infinite wisdom, the City Council of Toronto declared that they were not going to be allowing any ICE officials to be anywhere near any of the soccer games. This is just insanity at its best, or maybe insanity at its worst, you might say. But since when does the United States have any jurisdictional abilities in Canada? You don't have to tell ICE they can't be there. They can't be there in the first place. And the vote on this was 21-4 out of the city commission to disallow ICE agents. Now, the first point is, how can you have 25 members on a city commission? I mean, how do they get anything done with that many members? And secondly, I guess it's good that 4 people voted against it, or maybe it's not good that 4 people voted against it. Do they want to subcontract U.S. officials to come up to Toronto? The bottom line is, as soon as someone saw this on the agenda, I would really hope somebody had the common sense to be the voice of reason and say, hey, you know what? We don't have to waste our time with this. But of course, it didn't happen. It's just insane. Good job, Toronto. It made me proud.
It's like wearing a ribbon at the Academy Awards, right? Or something like that.
Everybody gets a ribbon at the Academy Awards.
Wow.
Pretty shocking. Yep. Bangladesh just said they don't want ICE agents. Holy cow. Who knew? Okay, Ryan,
All right,
we're gonna
done.
move on.
Yep, I can make that decision. No ICE going to Bangladesh.
Ryan, we're going to move to your looky here. Can I put it on the screen?
Sure. So the events of weekend prior with all the No Kings protests across the country reminded me of this headline from back on CNN back in when Obama was president, that liberals want Obama to be a king, not a president. So the only reason I thought of this was that the whole thing against Trump is purely TDS on the left side. And it is like, and I've said before, if he cured cancer, they'd have a problem with it. Whatever he does, there's some problem with it, and they'll protest it because it is purely, Trump is the great evil of our time. But let's have Obama be king. We don't have any problems with that. So that just simple enough. These people are crazy.
I have a problem with that, though. Ryan, the point of this segment of the show is you're supposed to bring up something that happened in the last 2 weeks. That post was from 2012.
Well, the No Kings protest was 2 weeks ago. It was a week and a half ago.
Okay. I thought you were cheating here.
No,
And it'll be next year too, or do they have several of those a year? I don't know. I noticed people in Fargo went attending. It's just like more, you want to just drive by and go, okay, there's the morons. There's the morons.
We should spray them with something that an ultraviolet light would pick up. That way we could recognize them. Throw the glasses on. I want Ryan to pronounce the name of the reporter that reported on that story. Quick.
Obadala?
Ah, crap.
Dean's
All
his
right.
name.
Never mind.
Ryan's got a master's. He's a little bit above us, Leon.
I was
okay,
trying
so
to pronounce it in my head, and I couldn't.
My looky here is I'm gonna test if you guys saw this. So guess where the hottest singles place in New York City is to find another person. The hottest singles place currently being attended in New York City is. Where would you?
I saw this the other day, but I forget now off the top of my head.
I have
Guess what?
no idea.
Don't tell me it's an abortion clinic.
The Catholic Church.
Huh.
A fashion
Really?
magazine wrote an article this past week. I just want to read the bottom paragraph. Gen Z, excuse me, once labeled a godless generation, atheist at worst, agnostic at best, have come rushing back, fueled by their fire for the church's framework of femininity, masculinity, for truth, and for God. I think those last three, the entire last line there, femininity, masculinity, which we talked about earlier, truth. There's only one truth, and for God. Who would have thought we are having a revival? It certainly doesn't, when Charlie died, there was that memorial that they had, and that was probably the biggest revival that happened in America since Billy Graham used to go around. But that took about a month. It was for Charlie. Then it took about a month, and everybody started attacking each other. We've forgotten all about Charlie now, but maybe the young kids, Generation Z, are actually going back, and I'm glad it's to the Catholic Church. Did that shock you, Leon?
100%. I'm glad to see it, but again, God did give us a roadmap for life, So, and we've the thing has kind of fallen off the rails because we've thrown we brown bagged it, threw it on the shelf. Nobody looks at it anymore, and we wonder why women are so unhappy, and men are like, oh God, I hate women, and I don't want to get married to a woman, and then when you get back to sanity, you're like, oh wait, women don't all have nose rings and fuchsia hair. Who knew? Who knew?
Leon, there's not
Go ahead,
6
Mike.
guys on earth that know what the color fuchsia is. Remember that, first of all.
Let's cut to
We
commercial.
know like 8. Okay, there you go.
So I think what that kind of shows too is like COVID and the corruption in government. Young kids are going, hey, we can't trust any of these people. There's only one place to find truth and a foundation, a rock solid foundation, and that's at church. I think it's a very positive thing. You've been kind of hearing rumors about it, but now even a New York fashion magazine is doing an article about it. It's got to be real. Folks,
That's
I want
pretty big.
to bring up a couple funny things, then we're going to end the show. Then we got an announcement, but in honor of Easter, I want to play this. Our video stopped again, guys.
Hey!
Why does that happen? And then I got one more funny thing. This is another looky here. We'll see if it plays. They play for us when we're doing it beforehand, but here we go.
That one played.
Oh, okay.
Isn't it a little bit homophobic that we're so focused on the straights of homos and not the gays of homos?
Yes, I agree. Yes,
Yeah.
for sure.
Why do you think they're willing to leave the gays of homos behind?
I think it's just historically, gays have always been very discriminated against, which is wrong on so many levels.
Even in war.
Yeah, even in war. It just takes more reform in government, obviously, and then also educating society.
Just feel like if we're gonna go in there, we can't leave the gay people behind.
Right.
I don't think we should go in there at all, but if we're going to, the gays of homos, we could turn it into fire.
Can I
Pretty
make
fun.
one observation there, Perry?
Sure.
The forcefulness in which she expounded upon her wisdom that blows my mind. The confidence in which she spat absolute idiocy. I just wow. I'm done.
If Kamala could have talked like her, she'd be president.
I don't know
She
if I
was
go that.
forceful. Okay, folks, we're about done here. We've got one announcement starting the next show, episode 5, 2 weeks from now. That's April 21st. We're going to start having a guest before the Looky Here segment. It'll be a 15-minute segment where we bring on a guest. Could be a Democrat, could be a Republican of all sorts. Who knows who it is? But we want to inform the audience. They'll bring some particular expertise, and the four of us will be asking those people questions for 15 minutes. They'll know that we're going to be asking them questions. We're going to be polite, professional, but hopefully we learn something, and we bring a little bit different audience to the show. But we'll start doing that. Might not be every time, but it will be on occasion. We will have a guest next two Tuesdays from now, and we're going to call it the hot seat with the Due North Political Podcast. So you've got that to look forward to. We thank you for watching. Guys, is there any comments we needed to get to that I missed?
Nope, I think we covered them pretty well.
Okay. Appreciate you guys being here. Have a good evening.